What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing. We've got a great video for you guys today. We're gonna go over the 20 secrets that most drivers don't know. Before we jump into this, we just wanted to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Solo. Solo is the best way for drivers to make more money. It gets you guaranteed earnings, and on top of that, our viewers will get $10 just for signing up using the link in the description below. So check that out, guys. Let's jump in. So number one on the list, and this is something I've done for years, and I've had event nights, concert nights where I can go out for 2 or 3 hours and make 100 to 150 bucks with ease. It's something I really recommend doing, and essentially, whenever it's surging, the temptation for a bigger surge is to go right into the middle of it. Problem is, this usually is a very traffic condensed area. So what I've always done is I roam the outskirts and I pick up the smaller surges. I can obviously tell how far the ride's going just because of my Uber reward status. So if you have your Uber, what is it, Pro? I don't know why I always forget what it's called. But you're gonna be able to see how far that ride is going. And so what you'll do in these surge times, and you don't wanna go too crazy with the cancel button, but if you're getting some smaller surges that are going, just shorter distances, you can give a rapid amount of rides and make a lot more money than you would have just picking up one, sitting in traffic for a long time, and then the surge is gone by the time you're done with it. Sometimes that one ride can be worth it, but for me, it was always too risky, and I had too many nights where I lost way too much time sitting in concert from a traffic, trying to get out, and it was a good ride, but there was potential to make a lot more. Now, number 2 on my list, I call it the gas hack. Again, if you have Uber or Lyft Pro status, you're gonna get some great gas discounts. Now, if you combine that with Gas Buddy and Get Upside, you can really get some crazy savings on your gas. So what I would first do is I look into basically Gas Buddy first. I'm seeing where those cheapest gas stations are, if they're obviously close enough to even be worth it. Obviously, I'm making sure it's a gas station that is applicable for my Pro rewards. Now, if it isn't, you can still do this and probably save more than you would have just with your Uber or Lyft Pro status. And so what you want to do is you check the Gas Buddy app, and then you're gonna pull up Get Upside and see if there's a promotion there. Now, if there isn't, just look for another one until you find one where you can combine essentially 2 to 3 bonuses. A lot of times you can save a really good amount of money on your gas. And I think the problem is most drivers are just lazy about this. They just wanna get back on the road. I understand that, but if you plan your day right, and if you time your gas spray, when you'll need gas with about when you would need a break, it can actually be perfect timing so that you get a little bit of a rest, you save a lot of money on your gas, and then you're back on the road anyways. Now, number 3 is something that I just don't understand why most drivers don't understand. You make more money on weekends. There's no way around it. You will make so much more driving 2 days a week, hitting that bar shift. You do have to drive pretty late, but to me, it's so much more worth it than driving all week. And a lot of times weekdays I feel like are very unpredictable on how much you can make. Whereas if I drive consistently on Friday and Saturday nights, I can a lot of times make what I would have made in a full 4 days of Monday through Thursday driving. Next on the list is that exercise might literally save your life. Now, not only is this just gonna help your energy levels when you drive, it's also like you just need to do it. We sit way too much doing this, and I think the temptation is to drive, go home, watch some Netflix, repeat. But you really need to try and get something, even if it's just walking while you're waiting in the airport queue. Drivers literally develop blood clots in their knees from driving too long, and on top of that, they have a pretty bad diet, and so it's a bad combination. So it's more than just health advice though, because for me, once I was working out actively, I noticed that I felt a lot better while I was driving, my attitude was better, and I got more tips. Next on our list is Solo. Solo is fantastic. As I talked about in the beginning of the video, that guaranteed pay feature is just unmatched. I don't think there is any app that provides a better service than that. On top of that, you can do all your tracking inside of it. And they say the average solo driver makes at least an extra 5K a year. So that's pretty good money when you're really breaking that down. Even monthly, it is well worth having when the app is free. Obviously, make sure you guys check that out. Now, another one that I think is really important is that fast food really isn't cheap. It's fast. That doesn't necessarily mean cheap. And I fell into a trap for a long time of getting fast food and takeout a lot while I was driving. And when I was full-time, I was sometimes getting it 2 to 3 times a day. Obviously very unhealthy for one, but I noticed that it was really cutting into my earnings, and I promise you're gonna save a lot more money if you prepare some lunches at home or just plan out cheaper meals throughout your week. Next on our list, number 7, is that dash cams could save your career. A lot of drivers get wrongfully deactivated. It's a very big problem in the rideshare industries, happens a lot on Uber, and a lot of times that support is so crummy, you really can't do anything about it no matter how much you debate it. They're probably always gonna side with the passenger, and so for you, you need to be able to prove in any scenario that you are innocent. I can't recommend it enough for your own safety. In just so many different scenarios, it's gonna come into play. Next on my list is networking. I've made a lot of money just by having a part-time sales gig that was commission only, and I can basically network right from my car and make sales. That is something that I think every driver should look into. You're making a lot of connections out there. Most people will often ask you if this is what you do full-time, so it's just an easy way to get that conversation going. It's something that a lot of salesmen, they dream of making connections like you guys make each day. So I just want to throw that out there as an option. I think it's something you guys should look into to further advance your life, your career, and you'll probably end up making a lot more money just on the side, pushing your product or service from time to time versus what you actually make driving Uber and Lyft. Cannot recommend that enough. Now, next on our list, number 9, is Play Octopus. Play Octopus is another incredible app. They're gonna send you a tablet for free. The tablet attaches to your headrest. The customer plays games, you get paid if they're playing games. This is a phenomenal tool for the really introverted customer or driver. It's just an easy conversation starter, and you're providing another level of entertainment for your passengers. All right, next on our list is that 3 hours is usually better than 8. Now, what I've noticed is that if I just do 3 hours a day of driving and I pick those hours carefully, those 3 hours sometimes can be way more profitable than 8 hours in the same day. Now, there's a lot of reasons for this. Some of this just could be your motivation and energy levels, but if I'm going out at a good 3-hour window each day, my earnings throughout the week are sometimes better than if I go for 8 hours. Reason being is sometimes when I go for 8 hours, those first couple hours can take me to some weird areas where sometimes it affects those really good windows of time where I'd get really good rides in. So it's better to strategically plan for 3 than to aimlessly drive for 8, if that makes sense. Now, next on the list is Rideshare Insurance. This is still a really big email we get. So many drivers don't realize they have to have rideshare insurance, not just insurance. I don't know why Uber and Lyft don't make this more clear when you're signing up, that you really need to have separate insurance. If you get in an accident driving Uber and your insurance carrier didn't know, they're gonna drop you and they're not gonna cover you for the accident, and it can cause you a lot of problems. This happens to a lot of people because they bought a car a while ago. Obviously then they weren't driving rideshare. Now if you go to buy a new vehicle, usually they're gonna ask you if you do this. But if you're newer and you're starting, there's a good chance you don't know this and you really need to look into rideshare insurance. So another one on our list, number 12, is tip jars. Tip jars are an easy way to actually get more tips. Now for me, the reason being here is I've noticed that nowadays most of us don't carry around cash like we used to. I swear I rarely have more than like $5 to $10 in my wallet of cash. We just do everything on our cards these days. But I've noticed that for me, that cash is, for whatever reason, a little bit easier to get rid of. It's almost like I don't fully count it as money, and I think a lot of people are this way. And so if you have a tip jar, odds are they're just gonna throw that $1 bill in that they've got lying around. You know, they're not thinking of it. A lot of times with the app, you know, they forget to tip, and yeah, they'll get that email the next day. But come on, how many passengers actually tip? You know, it's not always that many. And so having that tip jar in there can be an easy way to just make a little bit extra while you're out there. Next on our list, this is the most mind-boggling one for me. I don't know why more drivers don't take advantage of this, but having every amenity possible, and what I mean by that is things like snacks and water. Some drivers do this, but most don't. It's all a write-off anyways, so I really can't understand why more don't do this. The more extra service you provide, the more likely you are to get more tips in general. All right, number 14 on our list is that talking isn't always good. I've taken a lot of rides myself, and majority of drivers will try and talk my ear off. Now, I think the idea behind this is that if they have this amazing conversation with me, I'll tip them more. But a lot of times people just don't want to talk, and you need to be able to understand that. It's very easy to distinguish. Ask them a few questions about their day. If they don't give you much of an answer, don't sweat it. I usually would just say, hey, you know, if you want any specific music, I can put anything on. Otherwise, we'll be there in like 10 minutes. Sound kind of like a pilot, but whatever. It's courteous, and I think people respect that. Next on our list, and on that kind of same note, is that listening is key, and you don't have to be their best friend. You can just be a good listener, and you'll probably get a lot more tips than if you're a good talker. If you do get someone who starts to talk a lot, you don't need to impress them with your profound wisdom. All right, just be a good listener. You know, give some feedback from time to time, ask some more questions, but just be a good listener and you're going to get more tips. Next on our list is that longer trips really don't make sense anymore. It's really frustrating how Uber and Lyft have messed with the algorithm of rides so much at this point that I feel like they don't even know what they pay us on each ride. But longer rides really don't make sense anymore, especially if they're taking you to an area that you're probably not getting a ride back from. I used to love longer rides back in the day, and that's why this frustrates me so much, is I love that I knew I had a really good guaranteed amount for that next hour or two or for however long it was gonna be. For me, it was like, okay, great. I know for sure I've got probably roughly around X amount coming in, and even if I don't get a ride going back, you know, it's still gonna be worth it. Now it's not the case. Now that ride going there is only worth it if you're getting a ride back. And so to me, the mid-distance rides are the best now. 15 minutes, I would say, is like my ideal ride I'd like to give. But a lot of times if I see a really long drop off and I know I'm probably not getting a ride back in that area, I'm canceling. The other problem is a lot of times you can get stuck in a weird area giving really junky rides and you can never make your way back. Because let's be honest, the destination filter really doesn't work anyways. You'll get a bunch of stuff going a mile away for like $2. It's horrible. It's really, really frustrating, honestly. Number 17 is that passenger ratings can be encouraged at different times. Now this is a funky one that I think a lot of drivers don't realize. And the hypocrisy of Uber is that we can't go below 4.6, but passengers can be like a 3.0 and still give rides. They can practically be a serial killer and still give rides. But let's be honest, we all know Uber doesn't really care about us anyways. So if, you know, one of us gets knifed, it's okay. They've got 20, 30 people waiting to sign up tomorrow. All for them to quit within a month, but whatever. But this is, what's interesting about this is, if you notice, at busier times, they'll push a lot more rides to you that have lower ratings because they know you're not gonna wanna decline them. And this is something I picked up on a while ago, and I was like, man, they're giving me all these low rating rides at the bad hours. And people can say what they want. That algorithm is not random. There's just nothing about me that believes it. I remember in high school, you know, they would always say like, oh, we've got a random drug test this week. And all the same people would get drug tested every time they did this because it wasn't random. They were picking all the kids that they thought they were doing drugs. Valedictorian never got drug tested. It's like that. It's not random. They absolutely know what they're doing. There's no doubt in my mind. Next on our list, number 18, is you can technically schedule rides without violations. Now, there are some flaws to this, but I did this for a long time, and it really helped my weekday driving. So what I did is I picked up a guy a couple of times that lived really close to me, took him to work. This is back when I was more of a full-time driver. And at the third time, I was like, you know, we can probably arrange something where I'm just giving you the ride every day to work if you'd like. And he was like, yeah, I'd love that. Now that's actually against the rules, but what you can do, if you don't mind breaking the rules, just to have them Venmo you or pay you some cash on the side. I'm not necessarily condoning it, but it's not like this company does that much for you, so whatever to them. But if you want to stay within the rules, an easy way to do this is get to their place about 5 minutes before you know they want to leave. Just let them know you're going to do that each day. Just park there, have the app on, decline any incoming rides that come in. It's probably not going to be too many if it's like an early morning work shift anyways. And then you should get their ride request every time. Now, I did this a couple of times with a guy that lived very close to me. Eventually, we just arranged our own thing. I don't mind saying it either. Sometimes I'm like, screw this company, man. All right, number 19 on my list is take breaks. I cannot stress this enough. Your mental health is so important in this business. You're being a conduit of conversation day in and day out. I don't know what you guys do or don't believe. You're picking up on people's energy. And regardless of what you believe, you can't tell me that giving a ride to someone who's extremely depressed and voicing it doesn't drain you. So if you have a day, especially where you're giving a bunch of like depressing rides, take a break, like just step out of your car, like breathe deep and just give yourself even 5 minutes of just letting your mind rest, detoxing all that garbage you dealt with in the day so far, and then moving on. This is a thing that I did with myself for so long, where I was always like, well, it could be worse. You know, I could be in the coal mines. Like, this is an easy job. Like, I should count my blessings. I should just grind through it, push 14 to 16-hour days because I'm just sitting. You can't look at it like that. It's like you can't ignore a broken pinky just because someone else has a broken leg. It's still a problem. It's still something you need to deal with. And I really don't want to see you guys ignoring your mental health only because you feel like you got to grind out these crazy days, especially with how much they've cut the rates. Odds are you taking 5 to 10 minutes to rest your mind a little bit means you'll be in a better mood, which means you could potentially get a better tip on a ride that maybe you wouldn't have gotten if you were still in your funk. Take breaks. I promise you'll see the difference. And last on my list is be intuitive in all situations inside Uber and Lyft. Whether it's for safety reasons, conversation reasons, keeping your mind sharp in the sense that you've got an overall awareness, we'll say, of what's going on around you, what's going on with your passenger. This is going to help you in a lot of practical ways, but also just in a lot of, you know, unpredictable variables, we'll say. In a lot of scenarios that you couldn't predict, it just helps to always be thinking on your feet. It's going to help you, like I said, get more tips if you're able to kind of read people a little bit. And all this means is awareness. Listen more, be more present. Don't be so absorbed in your music or whatever you've got on that you don't really realize what's going around you. Just be aware, and I promise it'll pay off for you. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this list. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Definitely make sure you check out Solo. Get that free $10 just for signing up. I hope you guys crush it out there this week, and I will talk to you guys soon.